Welcome to the NWI.com Political Roundtable for Wednesday, March 28th. I'm Robert Blaszkiewicz, Assistant Managing Editor of The Times. Joined with me today, Doug Ross, Editorial Page Editor of The Times. Mark Kiesling is not with us this week. Hopefully he'll rejoin us next week. But wanted to start off, Doug, talking about something we just came out of, which was our meeting, endorsement editorial board meeting with U.S. Senate candidate Richard Mourdock.
Who's State Treasurer at the moment.
State Treasurer, Republican, who is challenging six-term incumbent Richard Lugar. So, in probably one of the most watched races in the nation.
Oh, absolutely. For a Senate race, this is the one to watch. You know, we've been saying all along this is a battle for the soul of the Republican Party. Brought it up to him,
he
he absolutely did.
And he really came out in that discussion with his passion for what you know, the principles that he believes in smaller, restrained government, fiscal conservatism, addressing the debt, and he, you know, got emotional at points.
Oh, absolutely.
Talking about those things and about his disappointment with the Republican Party and not standing up for its principles in those.
And we're talking over decades,
right?
You know, not just recently.
Right. So certainly, you know, there was a lot of fire there. The question is it going to be enough to unseat a long-term incumbent?
I think this is going to be a really close race. You know, there's still plenty of time before the election for a lot of crazy things to happen, but the voting's going to start, you know, relatively soon, and so, you know, it's going to begin to be making a difference. So far, you know, all we've really heard about, frankly, in the reporting on this has been about, you know, crazy things like, you know, where does Senator Lugar live, and does Richard Mourdock attend meetings? Yeah, and, you know, we're just not seeing the meat of what they would do.
Right, for all the campaign mudslinging that's going on about residency and meeting attendance. Thankfully, our discussion, and we'll be posting video of it at some point, was really substantial and on those issues.
Right.
You know, and very much a lot on the economy, about jobs, which I think is you know, goes to what people's interests are.
For Mourdock, it seems to me it all comes down to debt. You know, it's what Mitch Daniels is saying about the Red Menace. You know, Mourdock has been saying this.
He even brought it into the issue of energy prices, the national debt, and the devaluation of the dollar because of that debt is the real thing that's been causing the speculation that has caused fuel prices to rise.
Right. I mean, you know, he's making the point that oil prices are based on the value of the dollar, and with the declining value of the dollar, that's driving energy prices up. You know, it's getting to the point, frankly, where it's almost like, you know, hey, I've got my secret dealer, and I don't want to tell anybody else.
The other thing that struck me was, you know, at one point he invoked 1860 and said we're at a similar point in our history where we're a house divided, and he's not going in there to be bipartisan. He's going in there to do, you know, uphold those principles he believes in. And it does raise the question, well, if you're in a Senate that's fairly equally divided between the parties, and you're one senator out of 100, how the heck do you get anything done without being bipartisan? Right.
I mean, you know, and that's the thing. How do you convince the other side to go with you? You know, we saw in the Indiana General Assembly, we saw a lot of things happen this year. Well, that's because it was dominated by Republicans in both chambers. Right. You know, if that's not the case, how are you going to get things done at the federal level?
One of the things that Mourdock has been talking about this week has been health care. And he talked about it with us today, his opposition to Obamacare and the drag that he thinks Obamacare is having on the economy and on job growth. This week, everyone's attention is on the Supreme Court, as the Supreme Court hears arguments in the challenge to the Affordable Care Act. And a number of states, including Indiana, have challenged the act, including Indiana's Attorney General. Greg Zeller is part of that as well. So interesting to kind of hear the talk back and forth. We're not going to know for in a few months.
June, right.
What the outcome's going to be, but certainly it's going to have a profound impact on the country, on the presidential race.
Oh, absolutely.
On everything.
Absolutely. And what I think is fascinating about this is to remember that it was Steve Scavara. Remember that, I think it was from Union Township, that steel worker?
Yeah, this was during one of the early Democratic debates that was at Soldier Field.
2007?
It might have been. It might have been. It was during the summer, I think, in Soldier Field. And, go ahead.
And so, you know, he asked, Scavara asked the question, what do, you know, here I am, my wife needs health care, I can't afford it, what am I going to do? And, you know, to the candidates, what are you going to do? Well, you know, the outcome, of course, was the Obamacare. It was not the, you know, what anyone really went in there planning to design. It's the outcome of negotiations on both sides. A lot of Republican ideas in it, frankly.
Yeah.
Including the mandate.
Right, the mandate originally, and we brought that, and that's something that Mourdock has raised, that Lugar in the past supported a mandate. Well, and I brought it up with Mourdock today that a lot of Republicans in the past supported the mandate. It was
including Mitt Romney.
Yeah, it was something that was, and Newt Gingrich, it was something that was pushed by the Heritage Foundation. So, yeah.
So, you know, a lot of these, I attended a Lake County Advancement Committee meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the director of the Indiana Hospital Association was there. So he's making the point that there, you know, what, 60-some, you know, 70-some points, and you know, what we now call Obamacare, and that 55 of those things have already been implemented. So how do you strip that away? I mean, these are things like, you know, the electronic medical records, for instance. You know, how do you undo that? How do you undo coverage for children? You know, adult children up to age 26.
Right.
You know,
there will be an outcry if, you know, if suddenly coverage is taken away from those younger adults. If people who were covered with pre-existing condition are now not covered.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, so it's a big, complicated issue.
It is.
The Supreme Court justices have a challenge ahead of them.
Right. So an absolute, you know, anybody who goes in with an absolute repeal is going to have a fight on their hands, I think, because of that.
Yeah. Let's shift gears and look locally. There was a couple developments this week with local transportation. One very significant development with the Gary Airport, something that has been long in the works, working on a deal with Canadian National Railroad to move the railroad tracks. This has basically been the primary thing that was blocking expansion of the runway at the airport. And so now they've got that deal, and they're going to hopefully very soon be going ahead with that.
With the runway expansion, and they've got to. I mean, they've got a ton of money at stake. They've got an FAA deadline. The deadline didn't exist, you know, when the project was announced. Really, the project should have been done by now, except for, you know, things like, you know, trying to figure out how to solve the relocation of the railroads, and they went back and forth, you know, had a number of different ideas on it, but, you know, in the analysis, the FAA had to come in and say, okay, you're taking too long, here's your deadline, get her done. And they have to get it done because what's at stake is Jesse Jackson Jr., you know, of course, the congressman in the 2nd District of Illinois, is pushing forward with his Abraham Lincoln National Airport.
He's going to break ground for a project that hasn't been approved yet, which is kind of
exactly,
and kind of ironic. So,
you know, he's got this plan. It's going to be the 3rd airport, the 3rd major airport for the Chicago area. Gary Chicago International Airport wants to be the same thing. Yeah. So it's a race.
Sure. Sure. And then nearby, Klein Avenue.
Right. You know, by golly, there's the head guy at ArcelorMittal wants to have ramps at Dickey Road so that would serve the steel mill. Steel mills, I guess you could say, if you go back into history and think of it as plural. But you know, that was what the road was originally built for, arguably, was for that, but it was also built for the easy access between Northwest Indiana and Chicago. It was an expressway that has been severed since the bridge was declared a dud, basically. I mean, unsafe to use. And so, now there's the idea of, do we stall the negotiations on a private toll bridge to be able to incorporate those ramps, and how would that affect the tolling and all of this? So, boy, the longer you stall on that thing, the bridge has been closed for a couple of years anyways.
Yeah,
so
that long. Wow.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have this week. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week with another political roundtable.